Today's Cigar Box Guitar Lesson, we're going to be playing the 12-bar blues progression. It's really standard progression that you're going to hear all the time in blues and rock and roll. And we're going to be doing a version of it that works well on the Cigar Box guitar. So just so you know what we'll be playing, here is the 12-bar blues. So what is a bar? A bar is a measure of 4 counts. In this case, sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 bar. And there are 12 bars in the whole progression, hence the 12-bar blues. So let's walk through the progression as measured by each bar and how they're arranged. So traditionally, the 12-bar blues starts with 1 bar of the 1 chord. And it's the 1 chord because it's the first note of the scale, which in this case is G minor. So we start off with the open G string. That's the 1 chord, the first note of the scale. We do 1 bar of that. For right now, don't worry about the frills on the end. Just do a full bar of 3, 4 until we learn the overall structure. And then we can come back in and add those frills and style. So it starts with 1 bar of the 1 chord. 1, 2, 3. We move up to 1 bar of the 4 chord. It's called the 4 chord because it's the 4th note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the 5th fret line, is what I mean by the 4 chord. Kind of confusing, but it's the 4th note of the scale, and that's what it's called when you'll see blues guys talk about it, for the 4 chord. 3, 4. Back down to 2 bars of the 1 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Then we go back up to the 4 chord for 2 bars. 2 bars of the 4 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Then back down for 2 more bars of the 1 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, just to make sure we don't get completely lost, so far we have 1 bar of the 1 chord, followed by 1 bar of the 4 chord, followed by 2 bars of the 1 chord, 2, 2, 3, 4, followed by 2 more bars of the 4 chord, 2, 2, 3, 4, followed by 2 more bars of the 1 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now here we add in a different element, and we move up to the 5 chord, the 5th note of the scale, which happens to be on the 7th fret. And we do 1 bar of the 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. We move down and do 1 bar of the 4 chord, 2, 3, 4, and then we do 1 bar of the 1 chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we finish out the whole progression with 1 bar of the 5 chord. That last bar is also called the turnaround of the blues progression, because it's like, and here we go again, and then you can start the whole thing over. So 1 bar of the 1 chord, 1 bar of the 4 chord, 2 bars of the 1 chord, 2 bars of the 4 chord, 2 bars of the 1 chord, up to 1 bar of the 5 chord, 1 bar of the 4 chord, 1 bar of the 1 chord, 1 bar of the 5 chord. And we have the 12-bar blues. So once you get that whole structure down and comfortable and it's starting to come naturally, we can start adding in those little frills. And I'll show you what I did on the 1 chord as the demonstration. Starting on the 1 chord, on the 4th count of the bar, we slide up from the 3rd fret up to the 5th fret, back down to the 3rd fret, and then the open string. So it'll sound like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just that little slide up and down between the 3rd and 5th frets on the 4th count of the bar. And you do that for every bar that you play the 1 chord on. And the pattern is exactly the same for when you're up on the 4 chord, except so you still move up 3 frets. So instead of being on the 3rd fret, you start sliding on the 8th fret line and slide up to the 10th fret line, back down to 8, back down to 5. So that one sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4. And you do that for every for every bar of the 4th chord, and all of a sudden it sounds bluesy and awesome. You don't need to do it for the 5th, 4. Those don't work quite well. Those aren't really necessary. A little trick that you can do that sounds good at that point of the progression, when you start going on the 5th chord, 5, you can do what's called a chromatic walk down, where you hit the fret line right below in pitch, a half step down from the 5th chord, so the 6th fret line. You go from the 7th fret, 6th fret, then down to the 5th fret. It sounds like this. It's a nice little touch if you want. That's a little optional bit. And then after that same walk down, it's nice to use that same blues lick to transition back to the last bar of the 1 chord of the progression, which would sound like this. Then the turnaround. Feel free to use that vibrato, get the slidiness going in there, and with some practice, some memorization of the order of the bars, all of a sudden you'll be well on your way to bluesy awesomeness in no time.